Hello everybody and welcome to $2 Horror. We're back in 2025. Hope you had a nice holiday season. This month I watched the 2014 movie Last Shift. So before we get started on Last Shift, I just wanted to touch briefly on Nosferatu because, everybody's talking about it. It's very polarizing. People seem to love it or hate it. If you read the comment sections in social media, everybody's talking about either it's a masterpiece, it's my favorite movie ever, or I got so bored I fell asleep or woke up and walked out. I'm in the former category. I thought it was amazing. It took me a little while. It took me a day or so after watching it to arrive at that conclusion. That it is technically excellent is obvious. I mean, the cinematography is just superb. The performances were excellent. Sound, I mean, everything was just so well executed. But I left the theater wondering if I liked the movie, and I wasn't so sure, but over the next 24 hours I could not stop thinking about it, and I was just feeling like I have to see this movie a second time, which I haven't done yet. I'm gonna wait for it to get to streaming, and I'll likely buy it as soon as I can. But I think I loved it. I think it was a very excellent movie. It's a Robert Eggers movie, so if you love The Witch, The Lighthouse, and even The Northman, I know some Robert Eggers fans have been kind of split on that one. I happen to love that movie as well. I just love his filmmaking. He has a very distinctive way of storytelling, and the director of photography that he works with on all of his movies always delivers excellent job. If you don't like those movies, it's probably not for you. And that's no judgment. Some of us are into it, some of us aren't. If you'd rather have a horror movie that has a lot more like physical action to keep the story going rather than relying on dialogue, then it's probably not going to be your jam. That's cool. Give it a shot still. We need more of that instead of the familiar IPs and the cinematic universes and all that bullshit. I think we're moving on from that kind of naturally. I don't know about you, I haven't been interested in anything that Marvel's made in a few years, really. I think the Superman trailer looks alright. I'm not super thrilled about it because I'm just tired of superhero movies. I think we're all getting to that point. And so supporting filmmakers like Robert Eggers and others, I think it's important to go see these movies in the theaters so that we can encourage more of that. Let's get on to 2014's Last Shift. Last Shift is a 2014 horror movie from writer-director Anthony DeBlasi, starring Julia Harkavy. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I say that every episode. I really am kind of illiterate. You'll recognize her maybe from The Arrow, or is it just called Arrow, that DC show about the Green Arrow? Or The Walking Dead. She's apparently on that. I think I'd probably checked out of The Walking Dead by the time she showed up. She plays this rookie cop. It's her first day on the job, in fact. Her first assignment is to sit at this old police station. They've just opened a new one, so they're kind of transitioning from the old station to the news station. The problem is they have all this old evidence in their evidence locker that's like biohazard stuff. You know, it's full of like bloodstained clothes and all that. So they haven't moved that yet, but they can't leave it unprotected. So her task is to literally just sit there in an empty police station and wait for the biohazard disposal guys in hazmat suits to show up later on and pick it all up so they can properly dispose of it. It's a pretty interesting setup for a horror movie, especially a haunted house movie. It gets you in kind of a different locale, a different environment. And it's also an interesting take on the slow burn because we're in a pretty brightly lit building. It's full of fluorescent lighting and everything. Not that there isn't moody lighting in this movie, because there definitely is, but it's an environment that you're not super familiar with if you're going to get into a slow burn, atmospheric haunted house movie. So we open with Officer Lauren. She's our main character. She's just shown up for her first day as a police officer, and right away, it's weird. She walks into the police station, and we get this shot of a long hallway, and at the end of it, this man, you know, comes into the frame, and he's throwing kind of a temper tantrum. He's very distressed, not happy. He's an officer also, her superior officer. He orders her to turn around. So she does, and she starts walking back towards the exit, and he's like, I didn't tell you to turn around and walk, I just told you to turn around.
Stop! I said turn around, not walk away!
Sir?
So it's a little uneasy right off the bat, and from there he kind of gets his bearings, and you know, he tells her her assignment. You know, all she's got to do is sit here. It should be a fairly quiet night. 911 calls are being rerouted to the new location. She's got to do nothing, just literally be in the building for a shift with no responsibilities. So he hightails it out of there, and pretty quickly all the spooky stuff starts happening. And there's some really good haunts in this movie. They hit some familiar notes, like they do the old stacked chair bit. You know, there's creepy sounds. Things are like subtly moving on their own and everything. They do a really good job of creating this spooky atmosphere. She receives a phone call, even though calls are supposed to be being rerouted to the news station. Nevertheless, she receives a distress call from a girl who's saying that she's trapped, and she's worried that these people who have trapped her are going to murder her.
All right, ma'am. Just give me your address, and I'll dispatch a unit to your location. Hello? Ma'am? Oh, shit.
You're getting the sense of how isolated she is. She's all alone in this police station, and even though she is an authority figure, she's by herself. She's new to the job, so you get this tremendous sense of vulnerability. She's in danger, even though she's got a gun and she's been trained and all that. Like, nobody would feel comfortable in this situation. She's sitting in a room just reading a book, and all of a sudden she hears a pounding on the front door of the station. So she trots out there to see what it is. Nobody's standing at the door. She unlocks it. She takes a step outside and looks around. Nobody there. Of course, when she comes back in, there's a figure standing in the lobby of the station, a man with his back turned toward her. He's very obviously an unhoused person. He doesn't seem mentally okay. In fact, he's urinating on the floor. She kind of orders him, to turn around. He's not listening. She threatens to tase him. She goes around to face him. She kind of prods him with her the telescopic nightstick. She's like kind of coach poking him with it, like, you better get the fuck out of here, man. And he's just not responding until all of a sudden, gives her a little jump scare.
Hello?
Shut up!
Jesus Christ. Move. Move! Get out. Get out!
She retrieves the mop. She cleans up the urine inside the janitor closet. She finds an old pair of boots. They're just sitting up on some shelf. So she leaves them out on the stairs outside for the man. So, showing that she's a compassionate person, I suppose. So we're still just kind of setting everything up. We don't know much about the plot yet. She's exploring the police station. She ends up in the locker room. She focuses on this particular locker number 25. She opens it up, and there's like an old photograph in there of a police officer with his child. The movie doesn't say it outright, but you can deduce that this officer was probably her father. She goes to put the photo in her belt, thinks better of it, puts it back in the locker, and she goes to walk out, and she like almost walks into the door of a locker. And now we cut back to like a wider shot, and all of the locker doors are open. So there's a lot of nice little touches in this movie like this, where it's not really pounding you over the head with like, ooh, ghosts, spooky stuff. That is gonna happen, because this movie kind of feels like a James Wan movie, like a Conjuring movie. Like, the first half of this movie is filled with all these great haunts. Like, they really kind of like put the butterflies in your stomach, but at some point, it gets a little too ghouly. They show you too much, and it gets a little cheesy, but it's still a super fun movie. She receives another call from the trap girl. She doesn't get any more information out of her. Call gets cut off again. Phone immediately rings again, and she picks it up, thinking that it's this girl Monica who's called her a few times, but it's not. It's the hazmat guys, and they're like, "Hey, we're running a little late. We'll be there around 5 o'clock in the morning or so." So now we get some more spooky things. Cabinets are moving on their own. She hears movement in the station. Sounds like somebody's in there. Goes into the evidence room, and it's that homeless guy once again. And he's like up on some shelves going through some boxes. She goes up, grabs him. She takes him to a holding cell. He won't go in, so she's kind of had to like drag him in there bodily. And as she's doing so, when she gets him inside, the holding cell door closes and the power goes out. So this is kind of the signature scene of the movie. The power has gone out. She's trapped in the holding cell with this homeless guy. He's unconscious. Somehow her flashlight has gotten away from her, and the homeless man has picked it up, because although it's pitch black, the flashlight beam is being moved. Somebody's clearly holding it, and they're slowly panning across the cell with it, and she's like, "Dude, give me my flashlight back." And of course the beam falls on the unconscious homeless man. Somehow there's somebody else in this cell with her. Just as she's panicking, power comes back on. The door is open. Seems like it has been the whole time. Doesn't matter. She's out of there. She wants no part of this anymore. She heads to an exit, finds a lady of the night hanging outside of the back of the police station smoking a cigarette.
Ma'am, can I help you with something?
No, I'm all right.
Well, you can't hang out back here. This is a police station.
No, it's not. The police station's on 14th and Addison.
We get a little exposition here. And we're really getting into the plot of the movie. The prostitute talks about how, she was there on that night. She was at this police station on an infamous night.
What are you referring to?
Well, they brought him in that night. 3 of them. This wannabe Manson family. I think they were called the Payments. Kidnapped and slaughtered those poor girls.
Yes, they did. They also killed the Payman family on the scene of the crime, the officers. I should know, my father was one of them.
Yeah, that's what they wanted you to believe, but they brought him in alive.
The 3 surviving members of the cult, they were able to apprehend them and bring them back to the station. And the prostitute says, I was in the holding cell next to them when they all hung themselves inside of it. Why a man and 2 women would be all in the same holding cell is beyond me. I feel that was not something that was going to happen. But the movie's pacing is good enough that you're probably not going to think too much about it or care too much about a minor detail, a technicality like that. Anyway, the prostitute goes on her way, and she's alone once again in the police station. There's another knock on the front door, and she goes out there to find another officer there. She opens the door, lets him in. He's like, hey, I just wanted to check up on you. I know that you were having a rough time, so I'm just here to say hey, check up on you. They're kind of vibing here. He's flirting a little bit with her.
Wait, what was that? It was like a frown smile. Was it like a frown?
And he's like, hey, I gotta go. It's been great talking to you. Hope you are feeling a little more at ease. She's let her guard down a little bit. She's kind of got her breath back. She's feeling better about it. And when he turns around, of course, you see the back of his head has been blown out. He is obviously a ghost. He's an officer that was killed in the cult raid. And, things are just going to get a lot more bonkers from here. There's still a few more really good scares, but we're going to get a lot more, just kind of cheesy ghoul makeup and stuff like that. Jumping to the end. It's a really cool ending, I think. It's one of my favorite things that can happen in a ghost movie. Things have been kind of escalating more and more. She's losing her sanity more and more. Cult members show up. We're saying these are surviving cult members who weren't at the raid, who've just been in hiding for this past year since their leader was killed. And they're here to get his clothing that's locked up in the evidence locker. They have a shootout.
Don't move!
She's chasing them around the police station. They keep jumping out of corners. All the power's out. And she's just taking them out one by one.
And all who oppose him will perish.
And all of a sudden she gets shot right in the chest.
start.
She's like, she's up against the wall. She's sitting propped up against a wall, bleeding out, and the superior officer from the beginning of the movie, the sergeant, comes into view. He's got a flashlight and a gun trained on her, and she looks over at the cult member that she just killed, and it's one of the hazmat guys. So this is something I love in a ghost story, is the idea that you can be like mesmerized and made to think and made to experience a different reality. So when the hazmat guys came to get the biohazard evidence to dispose of, she saw them as aggressive cult members, and, you know, so she was just like taking those guys out one by one, murdering these hazmat guys. And this is where the movie ends. She realized what she's done, what's happened, and the credits just roll. And it's a fun movie. It's not a perfect ghost movie at all, but it has a lot of really great moments, and the atmosphere is pretty good throughout. Even though, like, the makeup can get a little corny, and they do the ghosts that are like turning their heads rapidly. They do that once or twice, and I just hate that. Now, this writer-director felt there were some shortcomings to this movie, this 2014 movie. So in 2023, he remade this movie under a new title, Malum. Tells basically the same story. There are some new, like, scary moments in it that are really cool. Does the same thing though. Like the corny makeup and all that stuff is still here. I don't know why he went with that. Like, the point of this remake, I guess, was to tell more of the story of the cult. Few things are changed in it with her father and her own backstory. Like, she has some involvement with this cult that she never knew about, like, since she was a kid and everything. I'm sure you can see where that's going. But I don't think learning more about the cult really added anything to the movie. I think the 2014 movie Last Shift is the superior movie over the 2023 Malum. I just don't think we really needed to learn any more about that cult. They weren't that interesting. There wasn't anything really unique about them. They were just kind of this, like, Charles Manson-ish devil-worshipping cult. I think it's better to leave them somewhat enigmatic. Like, you didn't really need to know much more about them. You know, like, leaving it, like, generically, this is a cult that's haunting this police station, I think works better. All in all, both of these movies are a lot of fun. They're perfect for, like, a, you know, maybe a Friday night kind of movie. You don't feel like going out, you're staying in. Turn on either one of these movies. I recommend Last Shift over Malum, but they're both very watchable. They're rewatchable even. I've watched Last Shift twice now. Enjoyed it immensely both times. Yeah, I dig these movies. They're a lot of fun. They have their flaws, sure, but well worth your time, I think. Anyway, don't let anybody give you shit for watching movies all the time, because the world sucks. My name is Matt Eddy, and we'll see you soon for Portal B proper. Should be coming out at the end of this month. If you don't watch Portal B and you only watch $2 Horror, I will see you in February then. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.